Hey everybody, it's Steve Belkey of Grace United Church. We're in Northampton, Mass, and we've been going through the Gospel of Mark. And one of the things about the Gospel of Mark is we're seeing Jesus. And if you don't know Jesus, if you've only heard about him, Gospel of Mark's really cool. We're just in chapters 1 and 2, and what Jesus is doing there, and this is really important, is he's demonstrating his authority. Authority, oh, that's a bad word. No, not when it's Jesus who has it. Authority in the hands of everybody else, it could be kind of awful at times. We all know that. But authority in Jesus' hands is pretty fantastic. And then right off the bat, there's this demonic oppressed man. Sounds kind of weird, but it was happening in that day. And Jesus cast out this demon. And what he did was he showed his authority over supernatural powers. You're afraid of anything bigger than you? Jesus has authority over it. Another woman, she was sick, and Jesus came and he demonstrated his authority over the body, over physical illness and disease, and he cast the disease out and she was healed. And each time what you see is things that oppress us, things that make us unhealthy, things that make us or our bodies do what we don't want him to do. Jesus has authority over it, and he can free, he liberates. Every time he expresses his authority, someone is liberated, which is kind of the opposite of how many express authority today. Another time there was a leper, and leprosy, not only was it kind of disgusting and people didn't want to be around you, but it rendered you unclean, unfit to be before God. And the guy said, Jesus, can you make me clean? And Jesus said, yeah, I can. And he was. And again, he was liberated and restored to God. After this, there's a paralytic that's brought to Jesus, and Jesus tells him, your sins are forgiven. People say, well, why are you telling him his sins are forgiven? He says, well, that's what this guy really wants, because he wants to be close with God. But you think I'm blaspheming, you think I'm pretending to be something that I'm not. Only God can forgive sins. Then he tells the guy, be healed. And the paralytic or the paraplegic gets up and he walks home, carries home the very pallet that his friends brought him to Jesus on. And bottom line is Jesus is demonstrating his authority over sin. In fact, he said, that you may know that I have authority on earth to forgive sins, get up and walk. And the guy got up and walked, which proved that Jesus has authority over sin and forgiveness. Meaning, if you feel far from God, if you feel enslaved to actions and thoughts and behaviors in a past that you want to be free from, if you feel that God would never have anything to do with you and there's nothing you can do to make that right, if you recognize that you're far from God, Jesus says, trust me, I have authority over all these things, meaning I can say and they have to do what I say, and I forgive you your sins. I make you clean. I can liberate you. Trust me, follow me, believe this in me, and I will do it for you. And Jesus does it for us. That's what you see. Read the Gospel of Mark, even just the first 2 chapters. If you don't have a Bible, let me know. I'll get you a Bible. Or gosh, online. That's even better for both of us. Right after this, Jesus is talking, or he's in the home of this guy who was really kind of nefarious, notorious, sinful man, evil man. Nobody liked him, on either spectrum. I mean, he was just not a good man. And Jesus called him to follow him, and Jesus forgave his sins. And then the guy threw a party, and Jesus is there, and all this guy's really sinful friends that nobody else likes. Not just the religious people, but people do not like them. It's like, a racist today or whatever. You don't have to be left or right, or whatever. Just racism is an obvious evil. This guy was an obvious evil man. Jesus called him to be with him and forgave him. And then he invited all his other friends with him. And that really offended people. And they said, well, what's Jesus doing? How can he be with these people? And Jesus basically told them, that's why I came, for people like this, people who know they're far from God, and he restores them to God. If you know you are far from God, Jesus Christ gave his life for people just like you. He gave his life for everybody. He said, I did not come to call the righteous, but the unrighteous. And what he's saying there is that we're all unrighteous. And those who hear his call, those who recognize that they're not right with God, they're kind of a mess, and they're kind of making a mess of their life. Or you know what? Hey, life's good, but I know I'm still not doing right. Jesus says, "Trust me." He gave his life for your sins. Trust him for forgiveness. Trust him that he has the authority to make you right with God. You trust him, and he does it. And I'll tell you what, if you trust him, let me know. I'd love to connect with you. If you're even interested in any of this, let me know. I'd like to connect with you as well. All right, but the Lord is good. If you don't know Jesus, Mark chapter 1 and 2 is just a great introduction. And then follow us at Grace United. We're going through this gospel and just looking at Jesus as we do. And you know what? He's a liberator, and he is good, and he is God, and he loves you. Okay, thanks everybody. Bye-bye.